Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, you'll never believe it, rumors of a Nintendo Direct. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this! So the Nintendo Cartridge Society takes this with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including rumors of a Nintendo Direct before the Nintendo Direct, and then on Thursday, we're probably going to be going through your predictions of for the April 2nd Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, but maybe we'll be reacting to a Nintendo Direct. We simply don't know at this point, but Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great, and I just want to acknowledge that we have done it. We have now...
We've looped all the way back around.
To the quotes from Zelda 1.
Yes. So we are all the way now back at the beginning of the game because we had to hit that line one more time, right?
Yeah, because in all the years that we have been using It's Dangerous to Go Alone as the end of the cold open, we never included... The take this tag.
Right. So who knows what's next?
Certainly not us.
No, we definitely do not know. We've talked about it, but we don't know.
No, we haven't made a decision.
We'll be marching ever forward. It's going to be great, though, whatever it is. Mark, today, March 25th, is 8 days away from the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct.
This is blowing my mind.
8 days. We are at some point here absolutely going to be doing an episode where we read your predictions and talk about them. So you have to email us before March 26th, tomorrow at noon. Email us Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will use those predictions in an episode where we talk about them. And maybe it'll come out on Thursday. Maybe it'll come out next week.
Yeah, we'll see. But really, yes. Don't delay, because you have one more dawn. One more day. 1 day more.
Right. Tomorrow we'll discover what the gods in heaven have in store.
That's right. So better get those predictions in.
If you would like to support us on Patreon and hear us talk about musicals, as we were just alluding to there with a little Les Mis reference, you can go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to the miniseries that we post there.
Yes, like NCS Goes Broadway, which we did maybe like a year ago. Before that, we did NCS Detective Club, and we are currently in Season 3 of NCS Arcade, where we are talking about games that Patrick and I have mostly never beaten before. And for the month of March, we are going to be talking about Donkey Kong 94.
Yes, and I am confident and hopeful that we are actually going to get this one out in March.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
I think it's gonna happen. Which will be the first for this year
for a while. Yeah.
So yeah, check it out there. If you are following us for free on Patreon, you get access to our listener feedback episodes. And anyone can email us thoughts about the games that we are playing for NCS Arcade. We will incorporate those into a free episode that everyone can get. So if you have questions or thoughts or feedback about Donkey Kong 94, start emailing us now. Because we will use those for episodes that everyone can hear. Speaking of things you can do for free, join our Discord. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And then I will send you an invitation. You can hop right in there. Mark, we may have 2 Nintendo Directs here.
Yeah, this is a great time to join.
I feel like I'm teasing it too much, and we're not actually going to get to talking about why we think there could be a Nintendo Direct this week until we get all the way down to the news, which will be in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I just want to plant the flag here. We think it's possible. We'll talk about it in greater detail in a bit. Also, before we get into what we have been playing this week, I just want to mention that I was on Video Games, a comedy show on Monday, where Jeremy and I are talking gamer hot takes. Mark, do you have any hot takes that you can think of off the top of your head about games?
Sure. Kid Icarus.
Yeah.
Likes pineapple on his pizza.
Sure, and that and you feel which way about that?
Oh, and my take is that
I think you just made up a fact. Don't know that that's a take.
Yeah, well, my take is that it's good.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I mean, I first of all, it's a believable fact.
Right. Well, also the character's name is Pitt.
Okay.
I said Kid Icarus.
Oh, sure. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I thought there was like a pun with pineapples and pits, and I was like, they have a core? I don't know if pineapples have pits. All right. Mark, a wonderful take.
Thank you. Hot? Maybe like warmed up pizza in the microwave, a little soggy.
Yeah, little soggy, warm for sure. But check that out if you like. Jeremy and I get a little spicy there, so like, if you're used to listening to podcasts with me with kids around, maybe don't for this one. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. I know I've mentioned it before, but I really enjoy playing Picross games from the 90s. There's something very enjoyable. I'm playing Mario's Picross for the Game Boy as it appears on Nintendo Switch Online, and it has none of the niceties of playing a modern Picross game. And there's something like so restrictive and like almost monastic about it, right? Where I'm like wearing a hair shirt and beating myself with a cat of nine tails, right? Because I know I've been bad and I'm being punished by playing this difficult Picross game. But it's also not difficult. It just doesn't have all of the guidance that the modern games have.
Can I ask you for the and maybe not this one specifically because I don't really have a super high bar for Game Boy soundtracks, but do the Picross games have good soundtracks?
Sure. So we did mention this a little bit when I first started playing this, that the music for Picross can some of the modern ones like really great, but occasionally like you'll hit like a real stinker, like the Namco one, the Bandai Namco one that came out like a year or two ago. The soundtrack for it, I think, is just like atrocious.
I guess basically what I'm asking is, should I be looking into Picross for work playlists?
Yes, but just go for the Picross S series. I think that's good, like working music, but yeah, the Game Boy version, like grating,
Yeah.
But so basically, I've just been playing that, and of course, our game for the NCS Arcade, Donkey Kong 94. But I don't really want to spoil any of my thoughts or takes about that now.
Sure. And so
unless you have any like check-in that you want to do,
I you can refuse to answer this if you want, in the name of spoilers. But I think last week you brought up the Super Game Boy and having all of the components except a cart of Donkey Kong 94.
Yes.
So did anything materialize from that, or?
Yeah, so I have borrowed Connor McCabe's copy of Donkey Kong 94, which the battery in it does not work, so I cannot save the game. But if all I want to do is like experience some of it, as I'm playing the most of the game on NSO, I can do that. I have more to say about the Super Game Boy like implementation and all of that, but we're gonna save that for the NCS Arcade.
Very good. So I've also been playing Donkey Kong 94, and I've also been playing Urban Myth Dissolution Center.
I cannot wait to hear what that is, even. But Donkey Kong 94, are you finished at this point?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm pretty close, but I'm not finished. It is... Yeah, I'm not finished.
Okay. All right. Neither am I.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're still feeling confident and
hopeful
hopeful
do it,
that we're going to record it in the month of March.
There aren't like a bunch of secret levels after where I think the game is going to end, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because it's Donkey Kong, so it's just those first 4 levels, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. It's got to be.
Right.
Spoiler, I haven't turned the game on. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Urban Myth Dissolution Center. So this got on my radar because I can't remember. Maybe I must have seen it online somewhere. And it sounded like a game that was right up my alley. It's a like adventure game / it's an adventure game. But
Okay.
it's not like a point and click adventure game. And it is like in 2023 I played this game called Paranormicite: The 7 Mysteries of Hanjo, which was published by Square Enix. And it was like a more of like a visual novel with some puzzle solving elements in it.
Yeah. Is that kind of what
This is more like it has story sequences, and then there are different like gameplay modes. Like it's like a side-scrolling. You're exploring a space, and so you play as a character who has this like ability to see entities from on the other side, and are given these pair of glasses that help you like see it clearly. And so so
you do have a little bit of paranormal sight.
So you do have a little bit of paranormal sight. So you're like in these 2D spaces, exploring the space and trying to look for like clues that help you like figure out what is going on with these urban legends or these myths. And then there's also sequences where you are investigating like social media to find clues about where to go or clues about like who's involved in like all that sort of thing. So I'm not super far into it, maybe just a couple of hours, and I'm torn. Like it's an indie game, I believe, and so some of the jank, I guess, can be forgiven. But it's not that it runs poorly or anything like that. It's just like there are lots of interesting ideas, and sometimes they're buffered with just annoying things that you have to deal with. Or
you mean like in terms of like the gameplay?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, and it's not like problems with the presentation where like it's like stutters or
Exactly,
skips or anything,
exactly,
but just like
yeah.
you have to like really know like to use the right thing in the right context or do things in the right order. That
right,
kind of
or
stuff.
like it's like I mean, a classic Famicom Detective Club.
Yes.
Where it's like is in the originals, and the remakes from 2021, where you like look at something and then you're like, I guess I have to look at it again.
Right.
Or
do I have to look at it a third time?
Right. Just like things like that. But the story is interesting and I want to see where it goes. But so yeah, that's something that I've been playing
Do you have
well.
Do you have a concept of like how much more game you have to play
of Urban Myth
Yeah.
Dissolution? I think a lot. I'm not very far in at all.
Okay.
So I think I've just kind of like I think I'm like 2 hours in. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
You can say scratch the surface if you want.
It's
That's
only
okay.
no, I'm backing away from it.
All right.
Because I don't know how long it is, so maybe I've more than scratched the surface. But I'm like, might be 10 hours long.
Right.
I don't know. I don't really know what to expect.
I have a very strong impression of when I very first encountered the phrase "scratch the surface" in regards to a video game.
Okay.
It was in an issue of Nintendo Power, referring to Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and it was just like they had like the lead up to the first like set of like mutated Metroids that you fight and then like unlock the next section, and then it was like, but you've just scratched the surface, and I remember making an impression on me because I was like, oh, the surface of the planet.
Oh,
like you've only scratched the surface of the planet.
Yes.
But you've also just scratched the surface of the game. I thought this was really clever.
It's good writing.
It's good writing.
Good writing.
Not a lot of good writing in Nintendo Power, but this was.
HowLongToBeat.com says that Urban Myth Dissolution Center is about 13 hours to do the main story.
And you are
about maybe like
20 minutes in?
Yeah, I'm about maybe like 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So scratch the surface, barely scratch the surface.
No, I think you're playing.
I'm in it.
I'm
in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you are like 10% through. A little more.
I feel good about that.
Yeah. All right, Mark. That's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Time for a little Nintendo music update.
Yes.
The soundtrack this week, or at least 23 tracks of it, is Kirby in the Forgotten Land.
What? Okay. Yes. So and there's even like a little note that says like, these 23 tracks are available now. The rest of it will arrive later this year.
I've got to say, this is a amazing soundtrack.
Yes.
So it's a very good one to have on Nintendo Music, and it has a lot of music.
Right. It's a good one to have part of.
right.
Dude, what, Mark? What is happening here?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't have any idea.
This is so and like. Look, this is a service that I like. I'm glad that Nintendo did this on their own. They have their own music app. I think that's cool. I think that's much better and more exciting than just releasing soundtracks on all the rest of the streaming services. Putting out part of Kirby and the Forgotten Land?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Are they like, oh no, we're running out of soundtracks? And they made so many games. Also, then don't put out like 2 Tetris and a Dr. Mario in the same day. I don't. It's all the whole thing is so bizarre, and them releasing just 23 tracks is something where I'm like, oh my god, this could take forever for them to like. Put
for
stuff
sure.
on this thing
For sure. Yeah, who knows? Another mystery. Was it for licensing issues? Did they just decide that's the way to do it?
I don't know.
Lots of tracks in it, so they decided to split it up so that way they get double the bang for their buck. I mean,
that's sort of what it feels like, right? Is that they're just like, well, now we've got like another week taken care of, and maybe they've got it like scheduled all the way out, and they're like, we just need to fill up the year. They programmed the whole year, and we're like, we're missing a week. Be like, Kirby can be 2.
Right. Yeah.
if like that's what it takes, if we're when we're like, oh yeah, ABCs, that could be 2 episodes, and it should be they'd be too long otherwise. But same basic thing that they're just like, yeah, that's the program, that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm happy that 23 tracks of Kirby the Forgotten Land are on there.
Which includes the like main theme song, right? With like the sung through theme song. So it's not like they were holding off on like the rights for that for some reason. That's not like tied up with like although I maybe just heard the Japanese language one and not the English language one. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it, like that they have different contracts with. I mean,
but
who knows?
I feel like they own all of it.
They should, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Music rights are very strange. And like in Japan, it is a little different, right? Where they're just like culturally that they view a lot of these like music products as products of the game or of the company and not of like the individuals that make the music. But if you are like contracting with like an American singer, then there are like different union stuff that may apply to those recordings. So that could conceivably be an issue here.
I don't know.
Also, just that now this is always happening at 6:00 p.m. Pacific time.
Right. Until does Japan have like a summer time change?
I don't know.
Like Europe does? I guess we'll find out. We'll find out
right.
if
that's how we'll find out.
Yeah, the Nintendo Music app starts updating again about 5
right.
Pacific time. Okay, new releases. Today, March 25th, Hello Kitty Island Adventure is released physically. We already had the digital release of this.
I'm glad that we now shout out every Hello Kitty release just because of Hello Kitty Cruisers.
Yes, on Thursday, March 27th, Care Bears Unlock the Magic.
Just wanted to shout out that Care Bears Unlock the Magic is coming out. The game looks quite bad and like borderline like a mobile game, but there's like a new like version of. Do you know this? That there's like a new version of Care Bears now. They like reinvented them for the 2020s.
No.
They look like all cartoons look now.
Oh, so kind of like following the My Little Pony
kinda.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It is
this is based on that.
This is based on that.
Okay, because I was wondering, it's like, is Care Bears a going concern? But I guess it is.
Have we talked about this before on the show? Do you know where the Care Bears originate?
No.
The medium that Care Bears originate in? Do you want to take a guess?
Did they start as stuffed animals?
No, stranger.
No, I have no idea.
They started on greeting cards.
Oh.
So Care Bears as a property
were
just like characters that they drew and created for greeting cards.
Do you think it's one of those things, speaking of Nintendo owning the music rights and the Nintendo Music app they don't really acknowledge the artists behind it. Do you think that because whoever created the Care Bears for like American Greetings or something, that because they created it for the company that they earned no money from all the merchandising and TV show and everything?
Right, she got like $50 for drawing like 9 bears.
Right,
I probably.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty heartless and terrible, but yeah, I bet that is the case, Mark.
And then also on Thursday, Picross S Doraemon and F Characters edition.
Look, I'm interested always in a new Picross game, even if it includes characters that I don't really know. There's that like cat with the big smile, right?
I think that's Doraemon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Doraemon.
What is
what's the and F?
Yeah, what's F Characters?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And then also on Thursday, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is being released. So this is a 1995 point-and-click adventure game that is based on the Harlan Ellison short story. And I've never played it before. I just know it by reputation for being a like interesting cyberpunk point and click adventure game from the 90s.
Do you think that might be something that you dip into, or
I don't know.
not?
I mean, I've got my hands full with Donkey Kong 94. Got this Urban Myth Dissolution Center in there. Still have to play Okami.
Yep.
So I maybe one that I like.
You're very busy.
I just don't know. And I don't even know that it's one that I'll just like pick up and never play.
Right.
Because that happens too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Finally, on Friday, March 28th, this was actually announced last week. We're getting 4 Koei Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, that are all like strategy games.
Yes. So Nobunaga's Ambition, Lord of Darkness, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 4, Wall of Fire, and then Uncharted Waters, New Horizons.
Yeah, none of these games have I played or even really seen on like rental shelves growing up playing Super NES. Are you familiar with any of these games?
I'm only by reputation.
And
really just more the
say,
NES version of Nobunaga's Ambition.
Right. So there's a couple of things that I just find interesting about this. First of all, the Super NES games, they have not announced these a week in advance, I think, ever. They'll do this with the anything that's on expansion pass or expansion pack rather, where they'll let you know like about a week and a half in advance of something coming out. But usually they just like drop these with an announcement video, or it's like later that day, right? So kind of weird. And then second of all, that both Nobunaga's Ambition, Lord of Darkness, and Uncharted Waters, New Horizons, on the box art, they do not include the name of the series. So Lord of Darkness looks like it is just a game called Lord of Darkness. And Uncharted Waters, New Horizons looks like it is just a game called New Horizons. With like a cool piratey theme, which would make more sense with Uncharted Waters, but whatever. So yeah, it's just like these are a lot of these, and I think by virtue of the fact that they're like Koei games that like just don't have a big presence in the US or like outside of Japan really. So like selling these things as parts of series is like no-go, right? Like just try to sell Nobunaga's Ambition, the next game of the series, just as Lord of Darkness and not as anything else. Where they couldn't get around that, though, is in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms 4 Wall of Fire, because you can't just call that game Wall of Fire. That doesn't make any sense. You need to call it Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Also, the fourth one by that point. I don't know. Interesting. Oh, you bring up a great point about like why did they announce this like a week before they were released?
I don't know.
Why do it with these games? To what end, Nintendo? To what end?
To what end? And I'm also just gonna like quick put a like here's one reason why these games may all be releasing now, or on the 28th. Is that we are nearing the end of the quarter and the end of Nintendo's fiscal year. So it is possible, and again, I'm going to bring this up in just a couple minutes when we're talking about the possible direct, that like they may have deals with people, with other companies, with their partners, that they have to do certain things by the end of such and such period. And we are like coming up to the end of one of those like big notable periods right now. So that may be why they're coming out on the 28th. Why they would announce it a week in advance, I still have no idea. And then there's also I just want to shout out a Devolver Digital sale that is up on the Nintendo eShop right now. There are 2 games that are massively reduced that I thought were cool. Ape Out is $2 down from 15, and The Messenger, a game that I really, really liked, is $4 down from 20. So really good time to grab either of those games. Mark, were you on the I feel like maybe it was me and Matt Acevedo when I was talking about Ape Out. Do you remember talking about Ape Out?
I don't.
You play like a gorilla in a like office building. It's like a top-down view of this gorilla, and he's escaping from the office building, and there are like guys with guns that like come up, and you just have to like run around and try to escape. And it's like kind of, it's not like roguelike necessarily, but it is a like you're going to die a bunch and just like try a different way through the office building. Super fun, really great game. Has this like dynamic, very like high contrast art style, not very detailed, and the soundtrack is like just a drum set, and it like ramps up as like things get more intense, and like it's a very cool, fun experience. So thoroughly recommend Ape Out. And then The Messenger is made by the same company that did Sea of Stars, which Mark, I know you really liked last year, 2 years ago, whenever it came out.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, Mark, any more thoughts about the new releases this week?
Nope.
Maybe there'll be some Shadow Drop games coming out with a
That's
Nintendo
right,
Direct. We don't know. Who knows? All right, Mark, let's close this segment out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo related that's fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, let's talk about the Looney Tunes. I saw the Looney Tunes movie The Day the Earth Blew Up last week. Snuck away from the office on Tuesday afternoon and saw it, Don Draper style, which I cannot recommend enough. Mark, what a great experience that is.
I'm guessing it was pretty empty.
No, there were maybe like 20, 25 people in the theater.
Oh, wow.
Like, which is not a packed house by any means.
But
like,
for a Tuesday afternoon to see the Looney Tunes movie, that's pretty good.
For the first showing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just it got me thinking about like what the value of the Looney Tunes is as like a brand, and just like what our relationships are to them. Did you grow up watching Looney Tunes?
Yes, and I'm trying to remember where I was first introduced to it, because they were on Nickelodeon
They were
a
definitely
lot
on Nickelodeon, yeah.
when I was a kid, but we didn't have Nickelodeon until I was probably like 6 or something like that.
Yeah, it's
but I
about the
feel like
time
I had
that
like seen it before.
That's
and
a great question. Where would you have seen it before? Was it just on like
Saturday morning cartoons?
Right? Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Or maybe we had a VHS or something. Like maybe we had a tape that had some Looney Tunes cartoons on it. But yeah, I would say primarily from them being aired on Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Do you remember having like favorite cartoons or favorite characters when you were a kid?
I've always liked. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess just like Bugs Bunny. So,
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like not really like any. I was like, oh, what is the name of the Gossamer? Gossamer, the big orange hairy monster. I've always really liked Gossamer. Have a soft spot for
Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
The name of the cartoon where he's introduced. Yeah, he's great. I remember really liking the Marvin the Martian cartoons. And like the Dodo Bird, like when they would go into Wacky Land, like that was always I always really liked that stuff.
I don't remember the Dodo Bird.
He's just like where the weirdest stuff happens. And then I also remember liking the Tasmanian Devil cartoons as well.
Do you remember when there was a Tasmanian Devil like cartoon, like afternoon cartoon on like Fox Kids or something?
Yeah, Tasmania. Yeah.
Tasmania. Tasmania.
Yeah, no, I always thought it was strange that like Taz had a family and the family was just like they spoke like people.
Right. No, yeah.
But Taz is still like blah, blah, blah.
I always really liked whenever there was like in the classic cartoons from like the 60s, there was always like a female Tasmanian Devil. Because they were so stereotypically, like gendered, like they would be wearing like bright red lips,
that's right,
and have
bow.
like or like eyelashes,
yep,
and it's just a funny contrast, like, or it's a funny visual, to have like a female Tasmanian Devil like that.
I also think it's cool that Bugs Bunny just like has he has so many rivals, right? Like Bugs doesn't really have friends.
No,
like he competes with Daffy, he competes with Elmer Fudd, he competes with Yosemite Sam. And like they're all different like relationships that he has to those characters. But like they're all kind of like fun and compelling. And like Bugs is a jerk, but he's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, he's a real stinker.
Speaking of stinkers, Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, I never really liked Pepe Le Pew cartoons.
Me neither. Too French.
Same with Yes. I never really liked Tweety Bird.
Sure.
I like Sylvester fine. I like Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn is, and he would always get in those things where he's like hanging out with like the sheepdog.
Uh-huh.
Right? I always thought that was good. I like Speedy Gonzales. I thought he was fun, maybe problematic to like that now, but I thought it was fun. Have we run through basically all of the...
There's got to be more, right?
Ooh.
But I feel like those are the good ones.
Those are the good ones. What's weird is I feel like I've not really the Looney Tunes movie stuff of like the 90s, like Back in Action or Space Jam. I don't care about any of those.
Nope.
No, well,
fair enough.
Very good. We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Okay. There's no avoiding it.
We can't.
Rumors have sprouted anew that there is going to be a Switch 1 original flavor Switch.
Yes.
Focused Nintendo Direct this week.
Now, Mark, you may already be asking yourself, wait a minute. Don't we have one of these scheduled for next week?
And didn't we have so many weeks where a Nintendo Switch focused Direct might have made more sense?
And the answer to both these questions is yes.
Yes.
And yet, here we are.
Yeah, and previously when I guess really what I look to for maybe like confirmation or when I feel confident that there is going to be some sort of Nintendo presentation soon is when all these different sources come out of the woodwork and start being really specific in their corroboration of it,
which seems to be happening, right? And it doesn't. I mean, at least to my eyes, it doesn't seem like they are just people reporting on each other's rumor and speculation. And I think that's sort of like the critical mass of gaming outlets online that I saw this rumor reported by a bunch of different places, and not just the really in the weeds, not just comicbook.com and not just Nintendo everything, but a lot of places kind of picking up what appear to be credible rumors that sometime this week we're going to be getting a Switch 1 focused Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, some sort of presentation, possibly on Thursday. But I don't know. What do we think?
Sure. I mean, do we want to run down what it doesn't really matter, right? Where it's reliable leakers. Nate the Hate appears in this as well. So it's just and Andy Robinson of VGC, the EIC there, kind of hinted at it as well. So it's credible, it's coming from credible places, right?
Yeah.
Or at least people who've proven themselves to be right in the past. But so yeah, what do we think? What do you think, Mark? Are we having a Direct?
So, putting aside the timing of it being
Yes.
so close to the Switch 2 Direct, having a Nintendo Switch focused Direct makes a lot of sense because we know that Nintendo is not abandoning the Switch. We know that they will probably release games for it through next year. That would not surprise me.
Right.
But we don't have dates for anything, and we really don't know any games from Nintendo full stop beyond
interesting choice.
Metroid Prime
yes.
4 Beyond.
Right.
And you could count
Pokemon. Right.
So where's the stuff that we know is coming? It makes sense that they would have a Switch 1 Direct. Makes sense that they'd want to have a Switch 1 Direct before the Switch 2 presentation.
Right, because I think it's pretty safe to say, or maybe just safe to I am currently assuming that at the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, they're not going to talk about Switch 1 games, right?
I completely agree.
Or they're at the very least not going to be revealing any new Switch 1 games. They may be if there's improved performance of games, obviously they'll talk about it there. But they're just going to want to talk about the new thing at the Direct about the new thing. So if we are ever going to get more information about Metroid Prime Beyond, I think it's going to be at some other kind of presentation, either before or after the Switch 2 Direct.
Yep.
And maybe it makes sense to roll it out this week instead of, in April while they're taking pre-orders for the Switch 2.
Now, the other thing that I will say is that, and you were talking about this earlier with like the timing being
Yes.
at the end of like Nintendo's fiscal year,
Right.
Maybe that being a date where they're trying to meet some marketing obligations with partners. It also seems possible to me that this is one of those like partner showcase Nintendo
Or an
Directs
indie showcase,
where like Nintendo isn't going to talk about first party games, but you will see like third party games. Basically, a Nintendo Direct with the first party stuff clipped out. Like, I think that is also possible. And then they do next week have the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, and then later in the year, maybe like a few weeks later, maybe a month later, we get more Nintendo Switch stuff. Because at some point, and I'm just looking back on the past where I think we're going to have, it's just been so long since we had Nintendo have like
Right.
two systems
Right.
that they're balancing. But, back in the day, there would be just a Nintendo Direct and you would have Switch games and 3DS games or Wii U games and 3DS games. So I feel like we may get to a point later in the year where there's a Nintendo Direct that has Switch 2 focused stuff and Switch focused stuff in the same presentation. But we're not there yet.
It's just not the first one,
Yeah.
right? Like the first one is going to be really like we haven't really seen the system in action, right? Arguably, we haven't seen Nintendo Switch 2s yet. We've just seen this like 3D rendering of it where the Joy-Cons roll around like mice. But yeah, so I it makes total sense to me that they would want a separate space to talk about Switch 1 stuff. But it also is like, yeah, is that before you do this, like hyped Switch 2 trailer?
And why
or
so
whatever it is?
or why so close?
Why so close? Did they just run out of, like, were they intended? Because you and I had talked about the possibility of there being a Switch 1 focused direct earlier in the month, even in February, right?
In February, because historically Nintendo has had
Right.
a Nintendo Direct in February, and
They did not have that this year.
No. And now we're getting one potentially at the end of March, beginning of April. Anything goes.
This is not a time frame during which Nintendo usually releases a Nintendo Direct. Just like, in the interest of like exploring all parts of what Nintendo has done historically, the end of March is not a direct window for them. But we're in totally uncharted territory here. Yeah, so just who knows? Are you excited about the idea of having a
yeah,
Switch
totally?
1
Because
Direct?
I'm really curious as
Yeah.
to like what does continued support for the Nintendo Switch from Nintendo look like
Yeah.
in a world where the Switch 2 is looming on the horizon, and they're going to want their A teams on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There were rumors, and maybe this was around the discussion of a possible direct in February, and about that February discussion, because Nintendo historically had a February direct. I think everybody was kind of looking at each other being like, well, it makes sense that they're going to do one, but it didn't have this kind of like chorus of voices
saying that
at
it is
any
going to
point.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what makes me think we probably are getting something this week. But yeah, weird to me that it'll be so close to the Switch 2.
Yeah, and that like, obviously we're recording the show on Monday evening. Weird that if there is a direct at some point this week that we don't know about it now. I guess it is something that they could just drop, right?
Right, especially if it's like a mini, which
Yeah.
they normally don't announce ahead of time. But what I was going to say is that when rumors first cropped up in February, there were some voices, I don't know how much weight we can put into it, being like there's at least one more kind of like thing out there looming for the Nintendo Switch that
beyond
is
what
like
we already
sizable.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not besides Metroid 4 or beyond.
Yes. So yeah, anything else to say about I hope they give us a heads up just for selfish reasons.
Yep.
But yeah, it wouldn't I'm surprised by the timing, but not surprised that they want to do something.
Yeah,
for the Switch 1.
That's right. And it just seems like they're only going to have like bad options here, right? For like, when does it make sense to have a direct about Switch 1 games? And like, yeah, you don't want to do it at the same time as the Switch 2 like blowout. you don't really want to do it after or like between the blowout and the actual release of the thing, and you don't want to do it right before. But so like you just pick the least of those evils, and I think that is right before. You know, people know when the Switch 2 Direct is going to be, right? So like there's no reason to complain about Switch 2 not being shown in a Direct that happens this week.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, since we're already playing in this side of the pool, why don't we talk about some more leaks?
Let's talk about more leaks and rumors.
Noted leaker Pioro has suggested that Pokemon Legends ZA will bring back Mega Evolutions.
Yes.
Including 27 new ones.
So, Mark, you and I don't really know anything about Pokemon, but these are like temporary evolutions, right?
Like the biggest?
Like the biggest the Pokemon can get, yeah.
But not Gigantamaxing.
Not Gigantamaxing, and not, what's the other one with the diamond, the gem, the stonization of the Pokemon?
Right, yeah.
None of that. Yeah, bringing back this like older mechanic, and with 27 new mega evolutions.
At the Game Developers Conference, the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, revealed the Accessible Games Initiative, which is a cross-industry program designed to give players information about accessibility features in games. So sort of like the ESRB rating, but for accessibility features.
Right, and not necessarily in terms of like a rating of like, you know,
is
on
it
a scale
good or
of
bad?
1 to, right. Or even just like on a scale of 1 to 10. It's like it's all tag based, right? So it's like you have some of the tags listed there, right?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, exactly. So the this is from their press release. Quote, "The primary purpose of the new Accessible Games Initiative is to help provide clear information about whether a specific video game has accessibility features and, if so, what those features are. The initiative is launching with a set of 24 tags, all with clear criteria about what each tag means. Sample tags include clear text, large and clear subtitles, narrated menus, stick inversion and save anytime, among others. Over time, participating companies will place the Accessible Games Initiative tags near their game product information, for example on digital storefronts, product pages, or digital catalogs. This can help provide players and other consumers, such as parents and teachers, with clear information about which features are in any given game before they make a purchase."
Good.
Yeah,
right?
That seems like a great idea.
And I think like one thing that this does is that encourages games to have those accessibility features, because they will now also be just included as part of their product information wherever you buy games, right? That like I know like Sony's been really great about this on a lot of their like big first party games, that they're just like chock full of accessibility options, for color blindness, for all kinds of stuff, that just makes it easier to enjoy the games in different ways.
Founding member companies include Electronic Arts, Google, Microsoft, Nintendo of America, and Ubisoft. And other participants include Sony, Amazon Games, Riot, Square Enix, and Warner Brothers.
So let me ask you. So two things. One, I think it's interesting that Nintendo is among the like founding members of this group, especially when like Nintendo builds in a lot of like options within the gameplay to allow like younger players or less experienced players to get through like more challenging sections of games. But I wouldn't necessarily describe what Nintendo does as including a lot of accessibility features, right? Just on like the basic like how to physically get through playing the game. Like they're not particularly focused on that. But also that it is not Nintendo, it is Nintendo of America that is one of the founding members here.
Right, which makes sense because the ESA is a like North American organization.
Yes.
And so Nintendo of America would be the arm of the company that would participate in something like that.
Yeah, but it's just like yeah, it so like if Nintendo of America is like leading the charge there on like how these games are published in North America, with like all these tags and stuff, it just may not reflect the development priorities coming out of Japan.
Well, I think that's totally true. And so I think it remains to be seen, like, yes, they may be a founding member. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean that they were involved more closely,
yeah, it's a great question,
with the development of this? But, of those 25 tags, maybe some of these Nintendo games are only going to have a handful. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They maybe have been involved, but you're right. They're not setting the development priorities. And so it's who knows, like, how much Nintendo as a holistic organization is going to be investing in making their games more accessible. That remains to be seen, for
Right.
sure.
Well, and just reading through these names again, we're not seeing a lot of Japanese companies, right? Electronic Arts, Google, Microsoft, Nintendo of America, Ubisoft, Sony Interactive. Sony's more of like a worldwide company at this point, right? Especially the interactive stuff is almost like it's European based now, right? That's where the home office is. Amazon Games, Riot Games, Square Enix is the one like kind of undeniably Japanese company in here, and then Warner Brothers Games.
Yeah, but again, I think it's just because the ESA is a North American organization, and so they're only setting the priorities for how this stuff will be marketed in the U.S.
Right, and they're leading like all of this stuff with like English language tags, right, and then like the rest will follow. But yeah, it is definitely taking the sort of like America centered focus here.
And all of this is voluntary.
Yep.
So like companies aren't being forced to do it. It's not even like ratings where I think most people will do it. Hopefully with time there'll be more uptake. But nice to see the ESA in the news of our show for something that's not E3 related.
Yes, that's very good. Nice to see them using their powers for good.
A modder using the handle Masa Greator Dev discovered that there is
fantastic work.
There is a hidden 60 frame per second mode in Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for Switch, and in enabling the mode, the modder said it quote causes weird issues. So maybe was something that was initially in development or used for testing.
Right, is not in its current form like a thing that can actually be used on Switch.
Yeah, the game doesn't run at 60 frames per second.
Does not. But maybe with like an update in the future it could, and maybe on different hardware it could. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, do you think it's possible that we are seeing the first Switch 2 feature being like dug out of a game that is out there on the market right now?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And would it be like advertised, or do you think?
Ooh, or would it just be something that like quietly works?
Right.
No, I think it'd be advertised. I don't know. What do you think? You think just quietly works?
I don't know. I wonder how big of a deal they're going to make out of backwards compatibility, like
improvements.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But interesting. Lego has announced their next Nintendo-related crossover. It's going to be Pokemon.
Hey.
A teaser image shows Pikachu's tail made out of Legos, and that's it. We know that it starts in 2026, so we still have a while before we'll probably hear more. But yeah, Pokemon and Lego.
Yeah, so Pokemon had like a Mega Bloks partnership for a while,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
And now they're with the big boys, which is good for Pokemon, and also this is great for Nintendo or for Lego, I'm sure. I assume this is just going to be like fun looking play sets or sets, right? Like we're not going to get the same kind of like Lego Mario.
I don't know.
Thing,
I feel
right?
like you could get it all. Like one of the things that they do with Mega Bloks, and it was actually what I bought my nephew instead of the Bowser amiibo.
Right.
Was it's like, oh, you're just building like a Machamp, and it's like 8 inches tall.
Yeah,
6
cool.
inches wide, like you're just building that singular Pokemon. But what we've seen with Nintendo is they have these Lego Mario, like the playset type things, and then they have like the Mario Kart one that they just announced.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is like more complicated. It's more of a showpiece, not really a toy. And I feel like that same strategy makes sense for Pokemon because you have such a wide audience for it that you are gonna have people who want really intricate like Pikachu statues that they can build with Lego, and then you're going to have like kids that are going to be attracted to it, and having a playset makes sense.
Yeah,
the electronic stuff I feel like makes sense. Having them like speak and make cute little faces.
That's true, especially when all they really need to say is like their name 3 different ways, right?
And call out for Luigi when he isn't around.
Well, of course, so that you'll be pressured to buy a Luigi,
right?
Do you think they'll make Pokeballs big enough for every Pokemon you make to
That
fit
would be
inside?
fun.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Pokeballs of varying sizes. I mean, the crazy thing about and I remember thinking this when like Build-A-Bear started doing like Pokemon partnerships, where it's like, oh yeah, there's like 1,000 of these things that you could release. You're never gonna run out of ideas,
Right.
and there's a fan for every kind of Pokemon. So I think we're just gonna be like inundated with ads for new Pokemon Lego stuff.
Finally, an update for Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo is available now, version 3.0.0. And look, we've talked about Alarmo updates before.
Yes.
And really, they were just like minor, tiny updates.
Right,
Sometimes
we got
game,
one new theme. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But version 3.0.0.
Oh, two, I guess, because we also got the Super Mario Brothers.
That's right.
Recently.
That's right.
As part of Mario Day.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So version 3.0.0 includes some new features along with the usual bug fixes. So you can now set the alarm on, off, alarm time, and alarm mode for each day of the week.
Which is good. You can set the days of the week separately. So if you have to wake up a little bit earlier on Thursdays for something, or if you don't have to go to work on Friday, you can change that schedule at the beginning of the week.
You can set the playback time of the sleepy sounds. You can set this in 1 minute increments from 1 minute to 60 minutes. Remind me what the sleepy sounds are.
So the sleepy sounds are, for each of the themes, there is a sleepy sound, which is just like the sort of like chill version of, whatever music, right? So I had mine on Pikmin 4, and it was the sort of sound of like launching up into the rocket at the end of the day.
Is it the one that plays before you go to bed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, so if you get in bed after your set bedtime, it will normally play these sleepy sounds for 5 minutes. And I thought this was a cool feature of it. It drove Sarah nuts, and I can respect that. So, I turned it off basically immediately. But now you could have it go for a minute or an hour, or anywhere in between, which is a nice bit of flexibility. That is sort of like crazy that it didn't exist before. I do wish though that they just had like a manual option that like you get in bed after your bedtime and then you push the button and it starts playing the sleepy music until you push the button and it turns off.
That would be nice. Or even if it played it for the set amount of time.
But you could, but you could also like turn it off early. That'd be great.
Yeah. On the alarm selection screen, a preview will now play of that alarm scene.
Which
Another
is perfect.
Good idea.
Because otherwise you were just sort of like taking a guess. You're like, I hope this is fine when it wakes me up in the morning.
Improved the stability of determining whether the goodnight sound will play. What is the goodnight sound?
I don't know.
And how is it different from the sleepy sound?
I don't know, but it was not very stable.
Here's another one. Even if the goodnight sound has already played, you can now play it again by setting the goodnight sound.
I don't know.
You can set the screen brightness to a darker setting. Okay.
Which is also good because I had mine set to the darkest setting, and it still like casts a fair amount of light. It does a nice job of when it senses no movement in the bed of just like going black.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you roll over or something, then it's like it's awake again. And so it would be nice to have that a little bit darker if I ever plug the Alarmo back in.
This is one for the real nerds out there. You can now check the MAC address of the unit even when it's not connected to the internet.
I'm glad we finally got one out there for the real nerds out there.
I don't know if you got like a firewall or something.
I don't
know. And then fixed several issues and improved operational stability and usability. Pretty meaty update for a Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo.
Yeah, meaty in like features, but not in like content, right? Like we didn't get any like new games added to this or anything like that. I don't really expect them to add a bunch more games as we go. But like the thing is out in a wide release now, and anyone can buy it at a Target or whatever.
Yep.
On the shelf next to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle source book, anywhere you buy books.
And Alarmos.
And Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. But yeah, it's for enthusiasts of Nintendo stuff, it made sense for you and I to buy it for $100, right? It still seems like a weird proposition for like a normie, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I don't really know who this is for. I really don't. I mean, I'd like, and not dismissively, but probably like children.
Yeah,
that's probably really who it's for. But they can't really advertise it that way. and they certainly couldn't initially when it was just for people who had Nintendo Switch Online accounts
and $100 to spend. And like they've solved for this, but I don't think there's really any way to get around the idea that like it knows when you're like thrashing around in bed, right? That like there is no camera. It is using a different sensor to determine your motion. But like, there's kind of no escaping the fact that it feels like it's watching you.
I mean, Santa Claus does that. Nobody has a problem with it. So
well, he sees you when you're sleeping and he knows when you're awake.
Oh, you're right. He doesn't see you when you're awake.
Right. So the second you wake up, Santa, he can't see you anymore. He just knows that you're awake.
Yeah, he's like he's like a T-Rex.
Okay, hold on. That he can't see you when, you're right. But only when you're sleeping. Like you could pretend to sleep and the T-Rex wouldn't be able to see you.
Yeah, why does Santa...
Santa can see you when you're sleeping.
Yeah, Santa can see you. So no, he's a reverse T-Rex.
Right, yeah, you were right the first swing that you took at it.
Yeah, okay, so why does Santa see you when you're sleeping?
Right.
Just know when you're awake. So, because it seems like it would be important.
The
opposite
reverse
would be important.
is more helpful, yes.
Yeah.
If Santa could know when you're sleeping and be like, fine, I don't
need to check in on Mark anymore. Yeah.
And then he can see you when you're awake, which is when you are doing things that are either naughty or nice.
Right.
You don't really have many options to be either when
I
you're
hate
sleeping.
to say it, but this whole Santa Claus thing is not really holding up to a lot of scrutiny.
It's not. I think it's a bad system.
Finally.
Finally.
There will be a new Splatfest in Splatoon 3 for SpringFest 2025. Which is happening April 12th to April 14th, where the question posed is, when do you like to get things done?
I love the ambiguity of the way this is phrased. When do you like to get things done?
The options are morning, afternoon, and night. Notable that there is, in fact, a new Splatfest.
Yes.
Because previously, they had, like, the last updates. But here we go. A new Splatfest.
Final Splatfest. Not final, just the next one. Thinking that we were past the point of there being a final one.
Right.
And then here's a new one. So Mark.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but night. Night is like morning is when I force myself to do things. Afternoon is when I'm a sleepy little boy, and then night is when I'm like am at my
time to buckle up. And
I'm a night owl for sure. How about you?
No, in terms of getting stuff done by nighttime, I want to not be doing
anything.
I want to not be getting stuff done anymore. To the point where like I would much rather wake up early the next day to get something done before like starting my day instead of staying up late. I just like reach a point where like my brain doesn't work anymore. So yeah, I guess I would say morning.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like my brain not working is definitely a problem at night, and yet that's when I try to do most things.
Yeah. I mean, look, brains maybe don't work ever, right? It's a struggle always.
Yeah, look, Santa Claus and brains.
Right.
The closer you look at them, the less sense they make.
Right. When does Santa see you? Morning, afternoon, or night?
Save that one for the holiday Splatfest.
All right, Mark, let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, you should email us, join the Discord, and also you should email us with your Switch to Nintendo Direct predictions. We need those now. We need those sweet predictions. We need them so bad.
Oh, we're so greedy for Switch 2 predictions.
We're both like kind of like grasping
we're
with our fingers.
We're grabbing at the air, but the air could be replaced by your actual predictions.
And then we would gobble them up and talk about them either later this week or next week. So do that. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8BitBetty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
Wait, is Santa Claus really like a reverse T-Rex? Because, okay, so a T-Rex in
cannot
the movie, in Jurassic Park, can't see
visual
you when
acuity is based on movement. So
Yes.
it cannot see you when you are still.
Yes.
And when you are sleeping, you are still. Santa sees you when you're sleeping.
Okay, so it is a reverse T-Rex.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and that's what we settled on.
That is what we settled
Okay.
on. Right. And I believe that all of the Santas in Jurassic Park are female.
I think that's true, but sometimes life gets in the way.
That's life finds a way.